So my mom, she was like the head decorator for the church back home in Ohio. And so she would, decorate the church for Christmas and Easter and, be in charge of placing the flowers and doing all that. And then my dad, would get heart attacks, seeing her climb up on the ladder to, work on the crucifix, right? Like, putting the cloth over for Good Friday. And,
what parish was this?
This was Prince of Peace in Canton, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you guys moved to the Woodlands here in the Houston area, what parish did y'all go to?
Yes. St. Anthony of Padua.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. No, that parish really formed me a lot. And it was crazy. So I was a competitive jump roper as well. And so
Really?
my youth group would be literally, and our practices were 3 hours long. So I would go to jumper practice for 3 hours. I would do homework in the car on the way to youth group. And then my mom and I would go through Chick-fil-A. And then I would get dropped off at youth group. So like my mom never let me miss CCE. Yeah.
That's cool. Competitive jump roping.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you get into that?
Yeah. So I was in 4th grade. And it was in 4th grade going into 5th grade. Like it was over the summer. And my mom wanted us to get involved in something. My sister chose karate camp.
Okay.
And I was like, my mom was the all-star athlete, right? Like she played volleyball in college, did track, basketball, all the things. And I was like, I don't want to have my parents coach me from the stands. So I'm going to pick a sport that they knew nothing about. And so
there you go.
I did just the week jump rope camp. And then the coach was like, hey, you're really good at this. You should think about trying out for our competitive team.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, sure. So I tried out and I made it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was.
And you said your mom, she really made sure that didn't take over your life.
Right, exactly. And it took, I will say though, it did take over kind of like my identity in a sense, because people would think kind of like how your reaction was, like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And so that's what people knew me as. And so like growing up, I was like always just Lauren the jump roper or Lauren this. And then when I ended up having to resign from jump rope, it shook me a lot.
Oh yeah, because like, who am I?
Exactly. And so again,
when was this?
This was in my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
And so again, God's timing is perfect. So I literally just resigned from jump rope, my jump rope career, hung up my ropes. And one of the friends I had at high school, she was the most popular girl ever. She was on varsity volleyball, getting a scholarship to Ohio State University. And she wanted to be friends with me. And I was like, this is so cool. She knew I was Catholic and she was also Catholic. And her mom was my 6th grade faith formation teacher.
Okay.
So she was like, hey, have you ever thought about like coming to youth group or coming to Life Teen? And I was like, no, I really haven't, just because I didn't know anyone. I was kind of on the fence. And so I was like, okay, but she invited me, so I'm going to go. So I went, and my youth minister actually ended up giving a talk on identity.
Oh, wow.
And it was, again, perfect timing. And literally, like, all the dots just connected for me. Like, there's so much more, like, I realized that there's so much more to life than just being identified by one thing, like,
yes.
And because you're identify as a child of God, all those other gifts and talents pour out of that identity.